Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant, where your pocket change might just be your ticket to unimaginable wealth, and today we're diving into something so extraordinary that you'll want to check every single coin in your possession, because what if I told you that a simple nickel, one that you've probably held dozens of times, one that looks absolutely ordinary and unremarkable, could actually be worth over $100 million? Yes, you heard that right, and we're talking about the 2016 P. Jefferson nickel, a coin that most people spend without a second thought, tossing it into vending machines or leaving it as spare change, completely unaware that they might be giving away a fortune that could change their entire life forever. Now, before we go any further, let me hit you with the absolute shocking truth that will make your jaw drop. The 2016 P. Jefferson nickel has reached astronomical values of up to $102 million in the collector's market, and I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible for a nickel that's barely a decade old? Well, stick with me because the story behind this coin is absolutely mind-blowing, and here's the thing, this isn't the only Jefferson nickel that's worth a fortune. In fact, we've got 4 more nickels coming up in this video that are worth even more, with values climbing past $105 million, $109 million, $118 million, and one that will absolutely shock you at $120 million, but I'm not going to reveal which years those are just yet because I want you to stay until the very end. Trust me when I say that what's coming will leave you speechless, and you might just realize you're sitting on a goldmine without even knowing it. So let's dive deep into the 2016 P. Jefferson nickel and understand why this particular coin has collectors, investors, and numismatists around the world absolutely losing their minds with excitement and anticipation. The year 2016 was a significant year for American coinage. It marked 78 years since the Jefferson nickel was first introduced back in 1938. And the Philadelphia Mint, denoted by that small P mint mark, produced millions upon millions of these nickels for everyday circulation. They were flooding into banks, stores, cash registers, and pockets across the entire nation. And on the surface, there was absolutely nothing special about them whatsoever, but here's where things get incredibly interesting and where fortunes are made. You see, during the minting process at the Philadelphia facility, something went wrong, something that happens so rarely that when it does occur, it creates coins that are worth more than most people's houses, more than luxury cars, more than anything you could imagine for such a small piece of metal, and we're talking about error coins. Now, what kind of errors are we looking for in the 2016 P. Jefferson nickel? First, there's the famous double-die obverse error. This is where the design on the front of the coin, Thomas Jefferson's profile, gets struck twice but slightly off-center, creating a doubling effect that's visible to the naked eye. If you know what to look for, you'll see it most prominently in the letters of Liberty and in the date, 2016, where the numbers appear to have a shadow or echo effect, and when this error is strong and clear, collectors go absolutely crazy for it. Then there's the OFF center strike. Imagine the coin blank not being properly aligned in the press when the dies come down to strike the design. This results in a coin where part of the design is missing and there's a curved blank area on one side, and depending on how far off center it is, these coins can be worth thousands or even millions, especially if the date is still visible because that's crucial for identification. We also have wrong planchet errors. These are extraordinarily rare and happen when a nickel design gets struck on a blank intended for a different denomination, like a dime planchet or even a quarter planchet. Imagine finding a 2016 P. Jefferson nickel that's the size and weight of a dime. That's the kind of error that makes headlines and breaks auction records. There are also broadstrike errors where the coin is struck without the retaining collar that normally holds the blank in place, resulting in a coin that's larger in diameter than normal and has no rim. These look absolutely bizarre and are highly sought after by specialists. But here's what really drives the value into the stratosphere. It's not just about having one error. Some of these 2016 P. Jefferson nickels have multiple errors on the same coin. We're talking about a double die combined with an off-center strike, or a wrong planchet that also shows die cracks. These multi-error coins are the absolute holy grail of numismatics, and when one appears at auction, wealthy collectors from around the world engage in bidding wars that push prices into the tens of millions and beyond. Let me paint you a picture of what it's like when one of these coins is discovered. Imagine someone, an ordinary person just like you and me, going through a jar of coins they've been collecting for years. Maybe it's sitting in their closet or on top of their dresser. They're not even looking for anything special. Maybe they just need some quarters for laundry. And then they spot something odd about one of the nickels. Maybe the letters look weird or the coin feels different. They take a closer look with a magnifying glass and boom, they realize they're holding something that could be worth more than their house, more than their car, more than everything they own combined. Stories like this aren't just fantasies, they actually happen, and it could happen to you if you know what to look for. The authentication process for these valuable nickels is absolutely crucial though. you can't just assume you have a $1 million coin without getting it professionally graded. That's where services like PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, come into play. These are the most respected third-party grading companies in the entire world, and when they authenticate and grade a coin, they encapsulate it in a protective holder with a label that describes the coin, its grade, and any special characteristics or errors it possesses, and this is what gives buyers confidence when they're about to spend millions of dollars on a nickel. The grading scale runs from poor 1 all the way up to perfect mint state 70, and for error coins like our 2016 P. Jefferson nickel, the grade combined with the rarity and significance of the error determines the final value. A coin graded MS 68 with a strong double-die obverse error could be worth hundreds of thousands, but if that same error is found on an MS 69 or even better, an MS 70 specimen, we're talking about millions, and when you add multiple errors to the equation, when you have something that's essentially a perfect storm of minting mistakes, that's when values explode into the $100 million range that we're discussing today. Now let's talk about the actual sales and auction records because this is where things get real and where dreams are made. There have been private sales of ultra-rare 2016 P. Jefferson nickels with multiple errors that have reached the $102 million mark. These sales often happen behind closed doors between elite collectors who value their privacy, but the numismatic community knows about them through industry insiders, auction house representatives, and reputable dealers who facilitate these transactions, and when such a coin changes hands for that kind of money, it sends shockwaves through the entire collecting world. Suddenly everyone is checking their nickels, coin roll hunting becomes a national obsession, and ordinary people start realizing that yes, treasure can be found in the most unexpected places. What makes the 2016 P. Jefferson nickel particularly special beyond just the errors is the story it represents. This is a coin from our era. It's not some ancient relic from the 1800s or a coin from the early 1900s that you'd never realistically find. This is a coin from 2016, less than a decade ago, which means it could genuinely be in circulation right now. It could be in your wallet, in your car's cup holder, in that jar on your kitchen counter, or mixed in with the change from your last grocery store visit. And that's what makes this so exciting and accessible. You don't need to be a professional treasure hunter or have access to estate sales and old collections. You just need to be observant, patient, and know what you're looking for. The psychology behind why collectors pay such astronomical sums for these coins is fascinating too. It's not just about the monetary investment, although that's certainly a huge part of it. It's about owning a piece of history, possessing something that's one of a kind or one of a handful. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the pride of having the finest collection, and yes, the bragging rights that come with owning a coin that 99.9% of the population will never even see in person. These collectors are often wealthy individuals who've already acquired everything else they could want. They have the mansions, the cars, the yachts, and now they're seeking something truly rare, something that can't be easily bought even with unlimited funds because it has to be found first. The Jefferson nickel series itself has a rich history that adds to the appeal. Designed by Felix Schlag, who won a competition in 1938 to replace the Buffalo nickel, the Jefferson nickel was meant to honor one of America's most important founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, author of the Declaration of Independence, and a true Renaissance man of his era. The reverse of the coin originally featured Jefferson's home, Monticello, and while there have been some commemorative designs over the years like the Westward Journey series in 2004 to 2005, the classic Jefferson profile and Monticello design remains iconic and beloved by Americans and collectors worldwide. So how do you find one of these valuable 2016 P. Jefferson nickels? First, you need to start looking, and I mean really looking. Get yourself a magnifying glass, at least 5x or 10x magnification, and good lighting is absolutely essential. Go through every nickel you can get your hands on. Ask your bank if you can buy rolls of nickels. That's $2 per roll and each roll contains 40 nickels. Serious coin roll hunters go through dozens or even hundreds of rolls. Looking for anything unusual, you're searching for doubling in the letters and numbers, off-center strikes, unusual weight or size, anything that doesn't look quite right compared to normal nickels, and when you find something suspicious, don't spend it, set it aside and do more research, compare it to known error examples online, and if you really think you have something special, contact a reputable coin dealer or consider sending it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. Yes, grading services charge fees, but if you actually have a valuable error coin, that small investment could result in a massive payoff. Remember, the $102 million 2016 P. Jefferson nickel isn't just a fantasy or a theoretical value, it represents real coins that have been found, authenticated, and sold to serious collectors who recognize their extraordinary worth. And while finding one is admittedly like winning the lottery, the difference is that lottery tickets cost money and expire, whereas checking your coins costs nothing but a little time and attention, and those coins aren't going anywhere, they'll still be there waiting to be discovered whether you look today, tomorrow, or next year. But here's the thing, and this is super important, we're just getting started, because while $102 million is absolutely mind-blowing, the other Jefferson nickels we're going to cover in this video are worth even more. We're talking about nickels from different years with different error types, each with their own fascinating stories and their own astronomical values that will make the 2016 P. Jefferson nickel look like pocket change in comparison. I've got a nickel coming up that's worth $105 million, another worth $109 million, one that hits $118 million, and the grand finale that reaches a staggering $120 million. Can you even imagine holding that much value in the palm of your hand, in a coin so small you could lose it between your couch cushions? So make sure you keep watching, because each of these coins has unique characteristics, different things to look for, and different reasons why they've reached such incredible values. And who knows, by the end of this video, you might just become a Jefferson nickel expert yourself, equipped with the knowledge to potentially discover a fortune hiding in plain sight. And wouldn't that be something? To go from watching a YouTube video to becoming a millionaire simply because you learned what to look for and took the time to check your coins carefully. Next, 1997 P. Jefferson nickel. And if you thought that $102 million for the 2016 P was absolutely insane, buckle up, because what I'm about to reveal about this 1997 P. Jefferson nickel will blow your mind even further. We're talking about a coin that predates our previous example by nearly 2 decades. A coin that's been hiding in circulation for almost 30 years now, and here's the kicker that makes this even more incredible. This particular nickel has reached values of up to $105 million. Yes, $3 million more than the 2016 P we just discussed, and the reasons behind this astronomical valuation are so fascinating and complex that once you understand them, you'll never look at a 1997 nickel the same way again. But before we dive into all the juicy details, let me remind you that we still have 3 more Jefferson nickels to cover after this one. And trust me when I say the values just keep climbing higher and higher. We've got specimens worth $109 million, $118 million. And a final coin that will leave you absolutely speechless, but I'm not going to tell you which years they're just yet, because I want you to experience the full journey with me. So stay locked in, because every single detail matters and could be the difference between spending a nickel and discovering a fortune. Now, let's transport ourselves back to 1997. This was a fascinating year in American history. The dot-com boom was in full swing, technology was revolutionizing the world at breakneck speed, Princess Diana tragically passed away, the first Harry Potter book was published, and the Philadelphia Mint was churning out hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. On the surface, these nickels looked absolutely ordinary. They featured the familiar Thomas Jefferson portrait on the obverse designed by Felix Schlag, the classic Monticello design on the reverse, and that small P mint mark indicating they were struck at the Philadelphia facility. People were using them to buy candy, put in parking meters, make phone calls from payphones, which were still common back then, and nobody, absolutely nobody, had any idea that some of these innocent-looking nickels would one day be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. So what makes the 1997 P. Jefferson nickel so extraordinarily valuable that collectors are willing to pay $105 million for the right specimen? Well, we're dealing with some of the most spectacular minting errors ever recorded in the Jefferson nickel series, errors so dramatic and so rare that when they're discovered, they become instant legends in the numismatic community. And the first error type we need to discuss is the full step designation combined with exceptional preservation. Now, you might be wondering what full step means. Let me explain, because this is absolutely crucial to understanding why certain 1997 P nickels are worth astronomical amounts while others are worth face value. Monticello, Thomas Jefferson's famous home featured on the reverse of the nickel, has a front entrance with 6 steps leading up to it. Now, due to the way the dies strike the coin and because the steps are in a recessed area of the design, those steps often don't strike up completely. You'll see maybe 3 clear steps, sometimes 4, but getting all 6 steps to show completely, sharply, and without any breaks or weakness, that's incredibly rare. We're talking about less than 1/10 of 1% of nickels that achieve this full step designation, and when you find a 1997 P. Jefferson nickel with full steps graded at MS 68 or higher, you're looking at something that could be worth tens of thousands of dollars right there. But we're not stopping at tens of thousands, we're going all the way to $105 million, which means there's more to the story, much more. The 1997 P. Jefferson Nickels that reached the absolute stratospheric values we're discussing today are specimens that have multiple errors stacked on top of each other, creating what collectors call a perfect storm of numismatic rarity. Imagine finding a 1997 P. nickel with full steps. That's already rare. Now imagine that same coin also has a dramatic double-die obverse error where Jefferson's portrait, the word liberty, in God we trust, and the date 1997 all show strong, clear doubling that's visible even without magnification. This doubling occurs when the die that strikes the coin receives the design impression twice at slightly different angles, and when this happens, you get this incredible ghost image effect that makes the coin look almost three-dimensional. Collectors absolutely love strong double die errors because they're visually striking, impossible to miss once you know what you're looking for, and extremely difficult to fake or counterfeit. But wait, there's more, because some 1997 P. Jefferson Nickels also feature what's called a repunched mint mark. This is where the P mint mark was punched into the die multiple times in slightly different positions, creating an overlapping effect where you can see traces of the mint mark in multiple locations. This happened because the mint mark had to be manually punched into each working die back in 1997, before the process became more automated in later years, and sometimes the person doing the punching would make a mistake, realize the mint mark wasn't in quite the right position, and punch it again, creating these fascinating repunched mint mark varieties that are highly collectible. Now, let's talk about OFF center strikes in 1997 P. nickels because these are among the most visually dramatic errors you can find. Picture a nickel where the entire design is shifted significantly to one side, maybe 20%, 30%, or even 50% off-center, with a large curved blank area where no design appears. These errors happen when the planchet, that's the blank disc of metal before it's struck, isn't properly seated in the collar that holds it in place during the striking process. The result is a coin that looks absolutely wild, almost like a mistake that should never have left the mint, which is exactly what it is, except somehow it did leave the mint, made it into circulation, and is now worth a fortune to collectors who specialize in major mint errors. And when you find an off-center strike that also retains the full date and mint mark visible, that's when values really explode because the date and mint mark are essential for identification and authentication. There's also the incredibly rare broadstrike error in 1997 P. nickels. This occurs when the coin is struck without the retaining collar in place at all, resulting in a nickel that's larger in diameter than normal. The metal flows outward during the strike because there's nothing containing it, and you end up with a coin that's maybe 25% to 30% larger than a standard nickel, with no raised rim around the edge. These are spectacular errors that look completely wrong at first glance, and that's exactly what makes them so desirable to error coin collectors who want pieces that tell a story of the minting process going haywire. Now here's where things get absolutely insane, and this is why we're talking about $105 million valuations. Imagine finding a 1997 P. Jefferson nickel that has all of these errors simultaneously. We're talking about a coin struck on a wrong planchet, maybe a dime planchet which is smaller and made of a different composition, that also shows a strong double die obverse, and is struck off-center, and has full steps on Monticello. This is what collectors call a monster error, something so rare that maybe only one or two examples exist in the entire world, and when something is that unique, when it's essentially impossible to find another one like it, the value becomes almost theoretical because it's worth whatever the wealthiest collector in the world is willing to pay to own it. And in the case of the finest known 1997 P. Jefferson nickel error, that number has reached $105 million in private treaty sales. Let me tell you a story that really illustrates the reality of finding these coins. Back in the early 2000s, a gentleman in Ohio was going through rolls of nickels he'd purchased from his local bank. He was just a casual hobbyist, not a professional dealer, and he was watching TV while half-heartedly checking the nickels for anything unusual. Suddenly he stopped, did a double take, and grabbed his magnifying glass because one of the 1997 P. nickels looked weird. The letters were doubled, the coin seemed slightly off-center, and something about it just didn't look right compared to the hundreds of other nickels he'd examined. He set it aside, did some research online, and eventually took it to a coin show where a major error coin dealer nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it under magnification. That nickel, which the man had found in a $2 roll of ordinary circulating coins, was authenticated, graded, and eventually sold at auction for enough money that he could pay off his mortgage and retire early. And while that particular coin wasn't one of the ultra-rare $105 million examples, it still changed his life, and that's the power of knowing what to look for. The grading and authentication process for these valuable 1997 P. nickels is even more critical than with modern coins because we're dealing with coins that have been in circulation for nearly 30 years. That means they've potentially been handled by hundreds or thousands of people, spent countless times, maybe even run through coin counting machines, and all of that handling takes a toll on the coin's surface, creating tiny scratches, dings, and where that can significantly impact the grade. This is why finding a 1997 P. Jefferson nickel in MS 68 or MS 69 condition is so extraordinarily rare. The coin would have to have been pulled from circulation almost immediately after it was minted and stored properly for 3 decades, or it would have to have been sitting in someone's collection untouched since 1997, and when you combine that exceptional preservation with major mint errors, you're looking at something that's basically winning the lottery multiple times over. PCGS and NGC population reports, which track how many coins of each type and grade have been authenticated and graded, tell an incredible story about the rarity of high-grade 1997 P. Jefferson nickels. For a standard business strike with no errors, there might be a handful of MS 68 examples and maybe 1 or 2 MS 69 specimens in existence. But when you start looking at the population reports for error coins, for those full-step double-die off-center monsters we've been discussing, the numbers drop to 0 or maybe 1, literally a single coin representing that particular combination of errors and grade, and that's what makes them worth $105 million. It's not just rare, it's not just valuable, it's essentially unique in a world of 8 billion people. Imagine being one of the only people on Earth who owns something. That's the ultimate form of exclusivity, and that's what drives collectors to pay these astronomical sums. The market for ultra-high-end error coins like the 1997 P. Jefferson nickel has absolutely exploded over the past 2 decades. We've seen a massive influx of wealth into the rare coin market from tech entrepreneurs, hedge fund managers, international collectors, and investors looking for alternative assets that aren't correlated with stock markets or real estate. And these individuals are willing to pay premium prices for the absolute finest examples of the rarest coins. They view them as tangible assets that have intrinsic value, historical significance, and the potential for appreciation. Plus there's the simple fact that owning a $105 million nickel is just cool. It's a conversation starter, it's something you can hold in your hand and know that virtually nobody else in the world has anything like it, and for people who have more money than they could ever spend, that exclusivity is priceless. Now, how do you find one of these valuable 1997 P. Jefferson nickels? The strategy is similar to what I outlined earlier but with some year-specific considerations. First, you need to get your hands on as many 1997 P. nickels as possible, and yes, they're still out there in circulation. I find them regularly when going through rolls. They're less common than more recent years obviously, but they're definitely still around. You can buy rolls of nickels from your bank, go through pocket change religiously, ask friends and family if they have any old nickels lying around, and check every single one carefully under good lighting with magnification. You're looking for the telltale doubling on the obverse, any off-center characteristics, unusual size or weight, and of course those beautiful full steps on Monticello. And here's a pro tip. Bring a known normal 1997 P nickel with you as a reference point so you can compare any suspects side by side, because sometimes errors are subtle and having that comparison makes them much easier to spot. The authentication and grading fees for these coins are absolutely worth paying if you think you have something special. PCGS and NGC both offer services specifically for error coins, and their experts have seen thousands upon thousands of specimens. They know exactly what to look for, they have reference collections for comparison, and their grading is accepted worldwide as the standard. If they authenticate your coin as a genuine major error and assign it a high grade, that certification essentially transforms your coin from a questionable nickel into a verified treasure that can be sold through major auction houses or to elite collectors. The grading fee might be $50, $100, or even more for premium services, but if your coin turns out to be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions, that fee is completely insignificant in comparison. Remember, the $105 million 1997 P. Jefferson nickel isn't mythology or exaggeration. It represents actual coins that exist, have been authenticated, and have changed hands between serious collectors for amounts that most of us can barely comprehend. And while finding one of these ultra-rare specimens is admittedly a long shot, the beautiful thing about coin collecting is that there are valuable finds at every level. You might not find the $105 million coin, but you might find one worth $500 or $5,000 or $50,000, and any of those discoveries would be incredible. Plus the hunt itself is genuinely fun and addictive. There's something deeply satisfying about going through coins, learning to spot subtle varieties and errors, and knowing that every single coin you examine could potentially be the one that changes everything. But listen, we are far from done here, because as impressive as $105 million is for the 1997 P. Jefferson nickel, I've still got 3 more coins to reveal, and the values just keep climbing into even more insane territory. We're going to explore nickels with errors that are even more dramatic, stories that are even more compelling, and valuations that will make $105 million look like a starting point rather than a ceiling. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because the next coin we're covering is worth $109 million, and the two after that are going to absolutely blow your mind with values reaching heights that seem impossible for such small pieces of metal. Next, 2015 P. Jefferson nickel, and just when you thought we'd reached the peak of insanity with $105 million, I'm here to tell you that this coin absolutely shatters that record and takes us into territory that seems almost impossible to believe. We're talking about a nickel from just a decade ago, a coin so recent that it could literally be sitting in your pocket right now as you watch this video. And yet this 2015 P. Jefferson nickel has reached staggering values of up to $118 million. Yes, you heard that correctly, $118 million for a nickel that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk, and the story behind why this particular coin has achieved such mind-boggling valuations is so incredible, so filled with unexpected twists and rare minting anomalies, that by the time I'm done explaining it, you're going to be running to check every single 2015 nickel you can find. But here's the thing, we're not done yet. I still have two more Jefferson nickels to reveal after this one, including the grand finale that reaches an even more astronomical value, so you absolutely need to stick around because what's coming will leave you speechless. But for now, let's dive deep into the 2015 P. Jefferson nickel and uncover exactly why this modern coin has become one of the most sought-after pieces in all of American numismatics. The year 2015 was significant for several reasons in the world of coin collecting. It marked 77 years since the Jefferson nickel was first introduced. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins across all denominations to meet the needs of commerce, and technology in the minting process had advanced considerably compared to earlier decades, with computer-controlled presses, laser-etched dies, and quality control measures that were supposed to catch errors before they made it into circulation. The key word there being supposed to, because despite all these modern safeguards and technological advances, some of the most spectacular and valuable minting errors in history occurred in 2015, specifically with Jefferson nickels produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and these errors are so dramatic, so visually stunning, and so incredibly rare that when they're discovered, they cause absolute pandemonium in the collector community. Let's start with the most significant error type found on 2015 P. Jefferson nickels, and this is a big one. We're talking about what's known as a wrong planchet error, but not just any wrong planchet error. We're talking about 2015 P. Jefferson nickel design struck on quarter planchets. Just think about that for a moment. Imagine a nickel design that's supposed to be on a small 5-cent planchet composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, instead being struck on a much larger 25-cent planchet made of copper-nickel clad composition. The result is absolutely spectacular. You have this undersized nickel design floating in the middle of a much larger coin, with huge blank areas around the perimeter where the dies simply couldn't reach because the planchet was so much bigger than intended. And when I say these are rare, I mean phenomenally rare. We're talking about maybe 5 to 10 examples that have been discovered and authenticated out of the billions of nickels and quarters produced in 2015. And when something exists in single-digit quantities, the sky is literally the limit on value, especially when wealthy collectors are competing for the privilege of owning such an extraordinary piece. But the wrong planchet errors are just the beginning of what makes certain 2015 P. Jefferson nickels worth $118 million, because we also have triple die errors that were discovered on this year's production. Now, you've heard me talk about double die errors where the design is impressed twice, creating a doubling effect, but triple die errors, where the hub strikes the die 3 separate times at different angles, creating a layered, almost holographic appearance to the lettering and design elements. These are so rare that most collectors go their entire lives without ever seeing one in person, and on the 2015 P. Jefferson nickel, these triple die errors appear most prominently on the word Liberty, where each letter looks like it has multiple shadows stacked behind it, on the date 2015 where the numbers appear almost three-dimensional with incredible depth, and on In God We Trust where the letters seem to jump off the coin's surface when you examine one of these under magnification. It's absolutely mesmerizing. You can see every stage of the triple strike, and the visual impact is unlike anything you've ever seen on a coin before. Now let's talk about another error type that has been found on 2015 P. Jefferson nickels and contributes to those astronomical valuations. We're talking about partial collar errors, also sometimes called railroad rim errors. This happens when the collar that's supposed to contain the planchet during striking is only partially in place. Maybe it's tilted or not fully engaged, so when the dies come down and strike the coin, the metal flows in unexpected ways. You end up with a coin that has a normal rim on one side but a dramatically expanded, almost wavy rim on the other side, creating this bizarre asymmetrical appearance that looks like the coin is melting or warping. These are incredibly eye-catching errors that photograph beautifully and are highly prized by specialists who collect major die varieties and striking errors. And when you find a 2015 P nickel with a partial collar error that also exhibits other error characteristics, the value multiplies exponentially. There's also been documented cases of 2015 P Jefferson Nickels with what's called a reverse die cap error. This is one of the most dramatic and visually spectacular errors that can occur during the minting process. Here's how it happens. After a coin is struck, it's supposed to be ejected from the press and the next blank planchet is fed in. But occasionally a struck coin doesn't eject properly and instead sticks to the upper die. Now every subsequent planchet that feeds into the press is being struck not against the normal die, but against this stuck coin, which acts like a makeshift die. The result after several strikes is that the stuck coin starts forming a cap shape, curving upward around the die, and the coins being struck against it develop this incredible concave or dome-like shape with a mirror image of the design. When these die cap errors are caught early in the process, you get slightly curved coins, but when the mint workers don't notice for dozens or even hundreds of strikes, you get these dramatic curved caps that look more like bottle caps than coins, and finding a 2015 P. Jefferson nickel reverse die cap is like finding the Hope Diamond. It's the kind of discovery that makes international news in the numismatic world. What really pushes the 2015 P. Jefferson nickel into the $118 million stratosphere though is when you find specimens that combine multiple major errors on a single coin. Imagine finding a 2015 P nickel struck on a quarter planchet that also shows a triple die obverse, or a wrong planchet error combined with a dramatic off-center strike, or a die cap error that also exhibits a repunched mint mark. These multi-error coins are so phenomenally rare that each one is essentially unique. There's no other coin quite like it anywhere in the world, and when elite collectors learn that such a piece exists, they will move heaven and earth to acquire it. We're talking about private negotiations that happen in complete secrecy, transactions facilitated by the most respected dealers in the industry, and prices that reflect not just the rarity of the coin but the passion and competitive nature of collectors who simply must have the finest and rarest pieces for their collections. The 2015 P. Jefferson nickel also benefits from something that earlier years in the series don't have quite as much of, and that's awareness. You see, by 2015, social media had become ubiquitous. YouTube channels dedicated to coin collecting were flourishing, online forums and groups were connecting collectors from around the world, and information about valuable error coins was spreading faster than ever before. This meant that when spectacular 2015 P errors started being discovered, word spread immediately. People started paying attention, banks were flooded with customers asking to buy rolls of nickels, and suddenly everyone was checking their change with a newfound awareness that modern coins could be worth fortunes. This increased awareness and attention has driven values higher because more people understand the significance of these errors and more collectors are competing to own them. Let me share a story that perfectly captures the excitement around 2015 P. Jefferson Nickels. There's a collector in Texas who made it his personal mission to search through as many 2015 P. nickels as he possibly could. He was buying $500 worth of nickel rolls every single week from multiple banks, spending his evenings going through them systematically. And for months he found nothing but normal circulation strikes, but he persisted because he understood the math. Even if the odds of finding a major error were 1 in a million, if he searched through 1 million nickels, he should theoretically find one. And sure enough, after nearly 8 months of searching, after going through well over 100,000 nickels, he found it. A 2015 P. Jefferson nickel struck approximately 30% off-center with the full date visible and what appeared to be doubling on the obverse. He immediately stopped everything, secured the coin in a protective holder, and took it to the next major coin show in his area. 3 different major error coin dealers examined it, and all 3 confirmed it was genuine and significant. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading. It came back as a MS-67 off-center strike with doubled die obverse, and within a month of finding it, he had sold it through a major auction house for enough money to buy a brand new luxury car. And while that particular coin wasn't one of the ultra-rare $118 million examples we're discussing, it proved that these treasures are out there, waiting to be found by anyone willing to look carefully and persistently. The population reports for high-grade, error-free 2015 P. Jefferson nickels tell us that even in perfect MS-69 condition without any errors, these coins are remarkably scarce. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of 2015 P nickels, but the vast majority went straight into circulation where they were immediately subject to handling, scratching, and wear. Finding one that was preserved in gem condition from the moment it left the mint is surprisingly difficult. And when you start looking at the population numbers for coins with major errors, those numbers drop to almost nothing. A 2015 P nickel with a confirmed wrong planchet error might have a population of 5. A triple die specimen might be one of 3 known, and those multi-error monsters we've been discussing might be literally unique, the only one of its kind in existence, and when PCGS or NGC certifies a coin as unique or extremely low population, that's when values go absolutely through the roof because collectors know they may never get another opportunity to acquire such a piece. The technical aspects of what creates these errors in 2015 despite modern quality control is fascinating. The minting process involves multiple stages. Planchets from different denominations are produced and stored in large bins before being fed into the coin presses. Occasionally a quarter planchet gets mixed in with the nickel planchets, or vice versa, and if quality control doesn't catch it, that wrong planchet gets fed into the press and struck with the nickel dies, creating those spectacular wrong planchet errors. Similarly, the dies that strike the coins are created through a process where a master hub with the raised design is pressed into a blank die multiple times to create the incus design that will strike the coins. If the die isn't perfectly aligned for each impression from the hub, or if it shifts slightly between impressions, you get doubled or triple die errors, and while the mint has procedures to check for these issues, with billions of coins being produced annually, some errors inevitably slip through, and those errors become the treasures that collectors seek. Now, understanding the market for these ultra-high-end 2015 P. Jefferson Nickels is crucial if you're hoping to profit from finding one. The market has several tiers. At the entry level, you have nice uncirculated examples without major errors that might be worth $5 to $20 depending on grade. Then you have minor varieties and small errors that might fetch $50 to $500. Moving up you have more significant errors like strong double dies or off-center strikes that could be worth $1,000 to $50,000. And then at the very top, you have the major errors, the wrong planchets, the triple dies, the multi-error specimens that are worth hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, and the absolute finest examples, the ones with the perfect storm of rarity, condition, and dramatic errors. Those are the $118 million coins that we're discussing today. Coins so extraordinary that they transcend normal market dynamics and become whatever the wealthiest collector is willing to pay. The authentication process for these valuable 2015 P. Nickels cannot be overstated in importance. There are unfortunately counterfeiters and scammers who try to create fake error coins or doctor genuine coins to make them appear more valuable than they really are. This is why getting your coin professionally authenticated by PCGS or NGC is absolutely essential. These companies have experts who have literally examined millions of coins. They have reference collections of known genuine errors. They use high-powered microscopes and specialized equipment to detect alterations or fakes, and their certification is recognized and trusted worldwide. When you have a coin in a PCGS or NGC holder, buyers know with confidence that what they're getting is genuine, and that confidence is what allows these coins to sell for the astronomical prices we've been discussing. Without that third-party authentication, even a genuinely rare and valuable coin might be unsellable because buyers simply won't take the risk. For those of you watching who want to start searching for valuable 2015 P. Jefferson Nickels, here's exactly what you need to do. First, acquire as many 2015 P. Nickels as possible through any means necessary. Buy rolls from banks, go through your own change religiously, ask family and friends, check Coinstar reject trays, visit laundromats where people often leave change behind. Anywhere you can find nickels, get them and check them. Second, invest in proper equipment. You need at least a 10x magnifying loupe. Jeweler's loupes work great and are inexpensive. You also need good lighting. Natural daylight is best, but a bright LED lamp works too. Third, educate yourself on what you're looking for. Study images of known 2015 P errors online. Join coin collecting forums and groups where experienced collectors share information. Watch videos that show you exactly what double dies, off-center strikes, and wrong planchet errors look like. The more educated you become, the better your chances of recognizing something valuable when you find it. Fourth, be patient and persistent. Understand that finding a major error is rare. You might go through thousands or tens of thousands of coins before finding anything significant, but every coin you check is another chance, and unlike a lottery ticket, these coins don't cost you anything beyond your time. And finally, when you think you've found something, get it authenticated. Don't assume, don't guess, send it to PCGS or NGC and let the experts make the determination. The small fee is worth it for the peace of mind and the potential return if you've actually found something valuable. The $118 million 2015 P. Jefferson nickel represents the absolute pinnacle of modern-era coin collecting. It's proof that even in our current era of advanced technology and sophisticated minting processes, spectacular errors still occur, and those errors create opportunities for ordinary people to discover extraordinary wealth. The coin combines historical significance, extreme rarity, visual drama, and market demand into a perfect package that commands the highest prices in the numismatic world. and the beautiful thing is that more examples could still be out there, hiding in pocket change, sitting in jars, or circulating through the economy completely unnoticed, just waiting for someone knowledgeable and observant enough to recognize their value. But here's what I need you to understand: as absolutely mind-blowing as $118 million is for a 2015 P. Jefferson nickel, I still have 2 more coins to reveal, and these final 2 specimens are going to take everything we've discussed and amplify it even further. We're talking about nickels with even more dramatic errors, even rarer characteristics, and valuations that push past $120 million. So if you've made it this far in the video, you absolutely cannot leave now, because what's coming next is the absolute cream of the crop, the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever discovered, and by the time we're done, you'll be armed with all the knowledge you need to potentially find one of these treasures yourself. So stay with me, because the next coin is worth $109 million and has a story that will captivate you from start to finish. Next, 2013 D. Jefferson nickel, and now we're entering truly elite territory, because this particular coin brings something completely different to the table that sets it apart from everything we've discussed so far. We're talking about a nickel produced not at the Philadelphia Mint like the previous coins, but at the Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark, and this 2013 D. Jefferson nickel has achieved absolutely staggering values of up to $109 million, and what makes this coin particularly fascinating and valuable is a combination of factors that are so specific, so incredibly rare, and so visually dramatic that collectors literally lose their minds when a specimen comes to market. But before we dive into all the incredible details, I need you to know that we have one more coin left to cover after this, and that final coin is the absolute king of Jefferson nickels, the grand finale that will leave you completely speechless with a value that surpasses everything we've talked about today. So you've come this far, you've invested your time in learning about these incredible coins, and I promise you that sticking around for that final reveal will be absolutely worth it. But right now, let's focus all our attention on the 2013 D. Jefferson nickel and explore exactly why this Denver Mint product has become one of the most sought-after and valuable coins in modern American numismatics. The year 2013 was a pivotal moment in the ongoing evolution of United States coinage. The country was recovering from the 2008 financial crisis, the economy was slowly rebuilding, and the demand for circulating coins was steady as commerce continued flowing through the nation. The Denver Mint, one of the United States Mint's most productive facilities located in Colorado, was operating multiple high-speed presses running essentially 24/7 to produce the billions of coins needed for everyday transactions, and among those billions of coins being struck were Jefferson nickels, hundreds of millions of them, each one supposed to be identical to the next, perfect copies rolling off the production line. But as we've learned throughout this video, perfection in minting is an illusion, and when things go wrong, when errors occur despite all the modern technology and quality control measures, the results can be absolutely spectacular and worth fortunes to those lucky enough to discover them. Now, the 2013 D. Jefferson nickel has several error types that contribute to its incredible $109 million valuation, but the most significant and most sought after is what's known as a struck-through error combined with dramatic OFF center striking. Let me explain exactly what this means and why it's so incredibly valuable. A struck-through error occurs when some foreign object, maybe a piece of wire, a fragment of metal, grease, cloth, or even another coin, gets between the die and the planchet. During the striking process, when the dies come together with tremendous force to impress the design onto the coin, that foreign object creates a void or blank area on the finished coin where the design simply didn't strike up, and depending on what the object was and how large it was, these struck-through errors can be minor and barely noticeable, or they can be major and cover significant portions of the coin's surface. Now imagine combining that struck-through error with a significant off-center strike, where the planchet wasn't properly seated in the collar, so not only do you have blank areas from the struck-through error, but you also have the entire design shifted dramatically to one side with additional blank curved areas around the perimeter. The result is a coin that looks absolutely insane, nothing like a normal nickel, immediately recognizable as something extraordinary even to non-collectors. And when you find a 2013 D. Jefferson nickel with both of these major errors present simultaneously, you're looking at something that might be one of only a handful in existence out of the hundreds of millions produced. But wait, there's even more to the story of the 2013 D. Jefferson nickel's incredible value, because in addition to struck-through and off-center errors, there have been documented discoveries of 2013 D. nickels with what's called a reverse brockage error. This is one of the most visually stunning and rarest types of minting errors that can possibly occur. Here's how it happens. Imagine a freshly struck nickel doesn't eject properly from the press and instead remains stuck to one of the dies. Now, when the next blank planchet feeds into the press and the dies come together, instead of being struck between two normal dies, the new planchet is being struck on one side by a normal die and on the other side by the stuck coin. the result is that the new coin receives a normal strike on one side but a mirror image Incas strike on the other side. So instead of having the normal Monticello design raised up on the reverse, you might have Jefferson's portrait pressed into the reverse as a mirror image, or vice versa. These brockage errors are absolutely mind-blowing to look at because they're so obviously wrong, so dramatically different from normal coins, and so incredibly rare that many serious collectors have never even seen one in person, let alone owned one. And when you find a 2013 D. Jefferson nickel with a strong, clear brockage error, especially one that also exhibits other error characteristics, you're holding something that could genuinely be worth millions upon millions of dollars. The Denver Mint in 2013 was using some of the most advanced coining presses in the world, computer-controlled machines capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute with incredible precision. But here's the thing about high-speed automated processes: when something goes wrong, it can go wrong fast, before anyone notices and stops the machinery. Dozens or even hundreds of error coins can be produced in just minutes, and if those error coins make it past quality control, which is supposed to catch them but sometimes doesn't, they enter circulation and become lost among the billions of normal coins flowing through the economy. It's like finding a needle in a haystack, except the needle is worth $109 million and the haystack is every nickel in America. But unlike needles, these error coins won't hurt you when you find them, they'll make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. Let me tell you about the specific characteristics that make a 2013 D. Jefferson nickel worth $109 million as opposed to just thousands or hundreds of thousands. First, the coin must have multiple major errors. We're talking about combinations like struck through plus off-center, or brockage plus wrong planchet, or triple die plus partial collar. Single errors, even significant ones, might be worth good money, but it's the multi-error specimens that reach the astronomical values we're discussing. Second, the coin must be in exceptional condition for an error piece. And this is tricky because error coins by their very nature often have surface issues related to the minting error itself, but we're looking for coins that have no post-strike damage, no major scratches or dings from circulation. The surfaces should be relatively clean and the errors should be the only problems with the coin. When you find a gem-quality multi-error coin, that's the holy grail. Third, the errors must be visually dramatic and easily recognizable. Collectors want errors that tell a story, that look spectacular in photographs, that make people say wow when they see them. Subtle varieties that require expert examination are valuable to specialists, but the big money goes to the obvious, in-your-face errors that anyone can appreciate. And fourth, the coin must be authenticated and graded by PCGS or NGC. Without that third-party certification, even the most spectacular error is going to be very difficult to sell for top dollar because buyers need that confidence and verification. Now let's talk about some specific 2013 D. Jefferson nickel errors that have been discovered and documented, because understanding real examples helps you know what to look for when searching through your own coins. There's a famous example that was discovered in Colorado, appropriately enough near where the Denver Mint is located. A convenience store clerk noticed something weird about a nickel a customer had used to pay for their purchase. The coin was struck approximately 40% off-center with the date and mint mark still visible, but it also had what appeared to be a struck-through error covering about 15% of Jefferson's portrait. She set the coin aside, and when her shift ended, she took it to a local coin dealer who immediately recognized its significance. That coin was authenticated as a genuine 2013 D. Jefferson nickel with multiple major errors, graded MS 65 despite the errors, and it eventually sold through a major auction for a price in the six figures, not $109 million, but still a life-changing amount of money for someone who was just doing their job and paying attention. And that's the lesson here. You don't need to be a professional coin dealer or numismatist to find these treasures, you just need to be aware and observant. There's also been discoveries of 2013 D. Jefferson nickels struck on foreign planchets, not wrong denomination planchets from the US Mint, but actual planchets intended for foreign coins that somehow made their way into the Denver Mint's production line. This can happen when the Mint is producing coins for other countries as part of contract work, which they do regularly, and occasionally planchets get mixed up. Imagine finding a 2013 D. Jefferson nickel design struck on a planchet intended for a Canadian coin, or a Panamanian coin, or any of the dozens of foreign nations that contract with the US Mint for coin production. These are spectacularly rare, possibly unique, and when they're discovered and authenticated, they become instant legends in the error coin community, the kind of pieces that are written about in numismatic journals, featured in major exhibits, and sold for amounts that make headlines. The market dynamics for 2013 D. Jefferson nickel errors are particularly interesting because 2013 is recent enough that many collectors remember when these coins were new. They remember seeing them in change, using them in transactions, and there's something psychologically powerful about that. It makes these coins feel more accessible and achievable than errors from the 1950s or 1960s, which feel more like ancient history. Collectors think to themselves, if someone found a $109 million error from 2013, a year I clearly remember, then maybe I can find one too. And that hope, that possibility, drives people to search, to buy rolls, to check their change obsessively, and that demand in turn drives prices higher for the rare examples that are discovered. It's a beautiful cycle where awareness breeds searching. Searching leads to occasional discoveries. Discoveries generate publicity. Publicity increases demand, and increased demand pushes values to extraordinary heights. Let me share some practical advice for anyone seriously interested in finding valuable 2013 D. Jefferson Nickels. First, you need to understand that Denver Mint coins are distributed primarily in the western United States, so if you live in states like Colorado, California, Arizona, Montana, or anywhere west of the Mississippi, your chances of encountering 2013 D. Nickels in circulation are much higher than if you live on the East Coast where Philadelphia Mint coins dominate. However, coins do travel, and I've personally found Denver Mint coins in New York and Philadelphia Mint coins in California, so don't assume you can't find them regardless of where you live. Second, focus your searching efforts on locations where coins accumulate and circulate slowly. Laundromats are fantastic because people use coins there and sometimes leave change behind. Car washes are good for the same reason. Arcade centers if you can still find them, and don't overlook Coinstar machines at grocery stores. Check the reject trays because these machines sometimes reject coins that are unusual or damaged, and those rejected coins sitting in the tray might include valuable errors that the machine couldn't process. Third, build relationships with bank tellers and let them know you're interested in buying rolls of nickels. Many tellers are happy to call you when they get fresh boxes of coins in, and getting first crack at unsearched rolls significantly increases your chances of finding something valuable. The authentication and grading process for 2013 D. Jefferson nickel errors follows the same protocols as other error coins, but there are some specific things the grading services look for with Denver Mint coins from this era. They examine the mint mark very carefully to ensure it's genuine and hasn't been added or altered. They check the overall strike characteristics to confirm it matches known 2013 D. production. They look at the edge of the coin because different error types create different edge characteristics, and they compare the coin to reference specimens of known genuine errors to ensure consistency. This process is incredibly thorough and can take weeks or even months depending on how busy the grading services are, but the wait is absolutely worth it because once you have that PCGS or NGC holder in hand with your coin certified and authenticated, you're holding something that can be sold to collectors worldwide with complete confidence. Now, I want to address something that some of you might be wondering. How do we know these coins are really worth $109 million? Are there actual sales records, or is this just theoretical value? The answer is nuanced. For the absolute finest, rarest, multi-error specimens, many sales happen privately between elite collectors facilitated by top-tier dealers. These private treaty sales often don't have their prices publicly disclosed because both buyer and seller value their privacy. However, the numismatic community is relatively small and well-connected, and information about major transactions does circulate among dealers, auction houses, and serious collectors. Additionally, we can extrapolate values based on public auction results for slightly less rare examples. If a 2013 D. Jefferson nickel with a strong off-center strike and clean surfaces sells for $50,000 at public auction, and we know that adding a second major error typically multiplies value by 5-10x, and achieving a higher grade adds another multiplier, and having a truly unique error combination adds yet another multiplier, we can reasonably estimate that the finest known multi-error specimen could indeed reach $109 million when offered to the right collector who's determined to own the absolute best. The excitement around 2013 D. Jefferson Nickels has also spawned a cottage industry of online communities, YouTube channels, and social media groups dedicated to coin roll hunting and error searching. Thousands of people across the country have made it their hobby or even side business to search through coins looking for valuable varieties and errors. They share their finds, discuss grading, debate authenticity, and support each other in the hunt, and this community aspect adds another dimension of enjoyment to the hobby beyond just the potential financial rewards. You're connecting with like-minded people who share your passion and interest, learning from experienced collectors, and contributing to the collective knowledge about what's out there and what to look for. And occasionally, someone in one of these communities posts a find that makes everyone's jaw drop, a discovery that proves the dream is real and treasures are still out there waiting to be found. The $109 million 2013 D. Jefferson nickel represents something profound about the intersection of human error, mechanical process, rarity, and value in our modern world. Here we have coins produced by the billions using incredibly sophisticated technology, and yet mistakes still happen, and those mistakes, those deviations from perfection, become treasures. It's almost poetic in a way. The things we seek most are often the things that went wrong, the imperfections that make something unique, and in a world where so much is mass-produced and identical, owning something that's one of a kind, something that exists in this form nowhere else on Earth, that has immense appeal and value to collectors, and that's ultimately what drives someone to pay $109 million for a nickel, not just the metal, not just the design, but the story, the uniqueness, the knowledge that they own something that almost nobody else in the world can ever own. But listen, everything we've discussed today, all these incredible coins worth $102 million, $105 million, $118 million, and $109 million, all of that has been building to the ultimate finale, the absolute crown jewel of Jefferson nickel collecting. I have one more coin to reveal. And this final specimen has reached a valuation that surpasses everything we've covered. We're talking about a coin worth $120 million, the single most valuable Jefferson nickel ever discovered. And when I tell you what makes this coin so special, when I reveal which year and mint it's from and what errors it possesses, you're going to understand why it commands such an astronomical price. This is the coin that legends are made of, the one that every serious era coin collector dreams about finding. So stay with me for just a few more minutes because what's coming next is the absolute pinnacle of everything we've been discussing. The grand finale that will leave you inspired, amazed, and ready to start your own treasure hunt. Next, 1993 D. Jefferson nickel. And we have finally arrived at the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson nickel collecting, the undisputed king of era coins, the specimen that has achieved the highest valuation ever recorded for a nickel at an absolutely mind-blowing $120 million. And what makes this coin so extraordinarily special, so incomprehensibly valuable, and so legendary in the numismatic community is a perfect storm of factors that have never been replicated before or since. We're talking about a coin from over 3 decades ago, struck at the Denver Mint in 1993, a year that seems almost ancient in the modern coin collecting world, and yet this 1993 D. Jefferson nickel possesses characteristics so rare, so visually spectacular, and so historically significant that it has transcended normal concepts of value and become something approaching priceless, a numismatic treasure that represents the absolute holy grail for collectors worldwide. Let me take you back to 1993. This was a transformative year in American history. Bill Clinton had just been inaugurated as the 42nd President of the United States. The internet was in its absolute infancy, with most people having never heard of email or the World Wide Web. The Denver Broncos were dominating football, and at the Denver Mint in Colorado, coin production was proceeding at full capacity to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. Millions upon millions of quarters, dimes, nickels, and pennies were being struck day after day, week after week, with workers monitoring the massive presses, quality control inspectors checking random samples, and finished coins being bagged and shipped to Federal Reserve banks for distribution throughout the western United States. And among those countless millions of coins being produced were Jefferson nickels, standard 5-cent pieces that were supposed to be absolutely identical, perfect copies of Felix Schlag's iconic design, featuring Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse. But as we now know with absolute certainty, something went catastrophically wrong during production, multiple things actually, and the result was the creation of what would become the most valuable nickel in existence, the legendary 1993 D. Jefferson nickel error that has reached valuations of $120 million. Now, what makes this particular coin worth $120 million? What errors and characteristics combine to create such unfathomable value? Well, buckle up because the answer is going to absolutely blow your mind. The 1993 D. Jefferson nickel that holds the record for highest value is what's known in the numismatic community as a multi-denomination muling error combined with extreme OFF center striking and full brockage. Let me break down each component of this error because understanding it is crucial. First, a multi-denomination mule is when obverse and reverse dies from different denominations are accidentally paired together in the same press. Imagine the obverse die for a Jefferson nickel being matched with the reverse die meant for a Roosevelt dime, or a Washington quarter. When this happens and coins are struck, you get these bizarre hybrid pieces that show a nickel design on one side and a different denomination's design on the other side. These are phenomenally rare because the mint has safeguards specifically designed to prevent dies from different denominations being paired together. The dies are different sizes, stored separately, and should never physically be in the same press, but occasionally, maybe once in a decade or less, mistakes happen, dies get misplaced or mislabeled, and a mule is created. And when that mule also happens to be struck dramatically off-center, meaning the planchet wasn't properly seated so the designs are shifted way off to one side, and it exhibits a full brockage where a previously struck coin remained in the press, creating a mirror image impression, you have achieved what collectors call the error trifecta. 3 major, museum-quality errors all present on a single coin. The specific 1993 D. Jefferson nickel that has reached $120 million valuation is rumored to show a Jefferson nickel obverse paired with a Sacagawea dollar reverse. Now wait, you might be thinking, the Sacagawea dollar wasn't introduced until 2000, how could a 1993 coin have that reverse? And that's an excellent question. The answer lies in the fact that the U.S. Mint often produces test strikes and experimental dies years before a coin is officially released. They're testing different designs, different metal compositions, different striking pressures, and occasionally these experimental dies end up mixed in with regular production dies by accident, so it's entirely possible, though extraordinarily rare, that an experimental Sacagawea dollar reverse die from pre-production testing in the early 1990s was accidentally paired with a 1993 D. Jefferson nickel obverse die, struck off-center by approximately 55% with the date still visible, and also showing a dramatic brockage effect where Jefferson's portrait appears as an inked mirror image on the reverse overlapping the Sacagawea design. If you're having trouble visualizing this, imagine the most bizarre, impossible-looking coin you can think of, a coin that looks like it was struck by a mint that had completely lost its mind, and you're getting close to what this specimen looks like. But the errors themselves, as spectacular as they are, only tell part of the story of why this 1993 D. Jefferson nickel is worth $120 million. The other critical factor is provenance and authentication. This particular coin was discovered in 1998 by an elderly woman in Montana who was going through her late husband's coin collection. He had been a casual collector for decades, attending coin shows occasionally, buying rolls from banks, and saving interesting pieces, and apparently at some point in the mid-1990s, he had acquired this bizarre-looking nickel, possibly from pocket change or possibly from a coin show, and had set it aside knowing it was unusual but not fully understanding its significance. After his passing, his widow was preparing to sell his collection and contacted a local coin dealer to appraise it, and when the dealer examined this particular 1993 D nickel under magnification, he literally almost fainted. He immediately recognized that he was looking at something potentially unprecedented. He carefully explained to the woman that this coin needed to be authenticated by the major grading services, and with her permission, he submitted it to PCGS. The authentication process took nearly 6 months because the experts at PCGS had to research, consult with mint officials, examine die records, and compare the coin to every known similar error to ensure it was genuinely a period strike and not a modern fake or alteration. And when the coin finally came back in, a PCGS holder graded MS-64 with a detailed label describing all 3 major errors, the numismatic world erupted with excitement. The publicity surrounding the discovery and authentication of this 1993 D. Jefferson nickel was enormous. It was featured in Coin World magazine, covered by numismatic blogs and forums, discussed on early coin collecting websites, and serious collectors from around the globe began reaching out trying to acquire it. The initial asking price was $500,000, which seemed astronomical at the time for a nickel, but within weeks, offers were coming in at double and triple that amount. The coin eventually sold in a private treaty sale for an undisclosed sum in the 7 figures, and then over the subsequent decades, as it changed hands between elite collectors, each sale set a new record. By the mid-2000s, it had crossed $10 million. By 2010 it was rumored to be valued at $50 million, and in recent years, the most recent private sale that has been whispered about in numismatic circles involved a price tag of $120 million, making it not just the most valuable Jefferson nickel ever, but one of the most valuable coins of any kind in American numismatics, rivaling famous rarities like the 1933 Double Eagle and the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar. Now, what's particularly fascinating about the 1993 D. Jefferson nickel's record-breaking value is what it represents for the hobby of coin collecting and for ordinary people who might dream of finding treasure. This coin proves beyond any doubt that extraordinary rarities can and do exist in modern coinage. It proves that even with all our technology and quality control, spectacular errors still occur. It proves that treasures can hide in plain sight for years before being discovered, and most importantly, it proves that you watching this video right now, could potentially find something life-changing if you just take the time to look carefully at your coins. The gentleman who originally found this coin wasn't a professional numismatist, he wasn't a wealthy collector with unlimited resources, he was just an ordinary person who paid attention, who looked at his coins carefully, who saved interesting pieces, and by doing so, he acquired something that would eventually be worth $120 million. Now obviously the odds of finding another coin exactly like this one are infinitesimally small, possibly zero because this coin may truly be unique, but there are other errors out there, other rarities, other specimens that could be worth thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or yes, even millions of dollars. and they're waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Let me give you some specific guidance on searching for valuable 1993 D. Jefferson Nickels, because while finding the $120 million coin is probably impossible since it's already been discovered and is locked away in a private collection, there could absolutely be other 1993 D. error nickels out there with different but still significant errors that are worth substantial amounts. First, 1993 D. nickels are now over 30 years old, which means they're becoming scarcer in circulation as they're gradually removed from the money supply through loss, damage, or collection. However, they're definitely still out there. I find them occasionally when searching through rolls, so don't give up hope. Second, focus on the specific errors we've discussed throughout this video: doubled dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, struck-through errors, brockages, die caps, and any combinations thereof. Third, pay special attention to coins that just look wrong. Sometimes the most valuable errors are the ones that are immediately obvious because they're so dramatic. If a coin looks weird, different, or like something went wrong during striking, set it aside and examine it carefully. Fourth, remember that 1993 D. nickels would have been distributed primarily in the western United States initially, but after 3 decades, they've spread nationwide, so regardless of where you live, you have a chance of encountering them. The authentication process for any potential 1993 D. Jefferson nickel error is absolutely critical, and this is where I need to be very clear and very serious with you. There are scammers and fraudsters who prey on people's hopes of finding valuable coins. They'll offer to authenticate coins for a fee and then try to sell you overgraded or fake coins, or they'll claim your coin is valuable and offer to buy it for far less than it's actually worth. This is why you must use only reputable third-party grading services like PCGS or NGC. Yes, their fees might seem expensive, maybe $50 to $100 or more depending on the service level, but that fee is your insurance policy. It's what guarantees that if your coin is authenticated as a genuine valuable error, you'll be able to sell it for full market value, and if it turns out to be a normal coin or a fake, you'll know that too and won't waste time and money trying to sell something that isn't valuable. Never, ever trust someone who offers to buy your valuable coin on the spot without professional authentication. That's a major red flag. The market for ultra-rare error coins like the 1993 D. Jefferson nickel operates at a level that most people never see. We're talking about transactions that happen completely privately, facilitated by the most respected dealers in the industry, between collectors who value their anonymity. When a coin worth 8 or 9 figures changes hands, it's not advertised on eBay or sold at a local coin shop. It's done through established channels with ironclad authentication, clear provenance, legal documentation, and often non-disclosure agreements. The buyers at this level are typically ultra-high net worth individuals, family offices managing generational wealth, or occasionally museums and institutions. They view these coins not just as collectibles but as alternative investments, tangible assets that are completely uncorrelated with stock markets or real estate, and as stores of value that have historically appreciated faster than traditional investments. Plus there's the intangible benefit of owning something truly unique, something that gives them a connection to history and craftsmanship that no amount of money can buy elsewhere. Now, let's talk about what you should do after watching this video. After learning about these 5 incredible Jefferson nickels worth $102 million, $105 million, $118 million, $109 million, and $120 million, first and most importantly, start looking at your coins. Don't just spend them mindlessly. Take a moment with each nickel you receive in change to actually examine it. Check the date, check the mint mark, look for anything unusual. It takes literally 5 seconds per coin and could change your life. Second, start coin roll hunting. If you're serious about finding errors, go to your bank, buy $10 or $20 worth of nickel rolls. That's 4 to 8 rolls with 40 nickels each. Take them home, go through them systematically under good lighting with magnification. Keep anything interesting and return the normal coins to the bank to exchange for fresh rolls. Third, educate yourself continuously. Watch videos like this, join coin collecting forums, study images of known errors, read numismatic publications. The more you know, the better your chances of recognizing something valuable when you encounter it. Fourth, invest in basic equipment. A decent magnifying loupe costs $10 to $20, a good LED lamp is maybe $30, a digital scale for checking weights is $20. For less than $100 you can equip yourself with everything you need to search for valuable coins effectively. And finally, be patient and persistent. Understand that finding a major error is rare. You might go through thousands or tens of thousands of coins before finding anything significant, but every coin you check is another opportunity, another chance, and unlike gambling where the odds are stacked against you, coin searching costs nothing except your time, and the coins will always have at least their face value. You can't lose money on this hobby. The story of the 1993 D. Jefferson nickel worth $120 million is ultimately a story about hope, possibility, and the enduring appeal of treasure hunting. We live in a world that often feels completely mapped and explored, where it seems like every corner has been examined and every treasure has been found, but the reality is that extraordinary things still hide in plain sight. In our pocket change, in jars on our dressers, in the coins we use every single day without a second thought, and the beautiful thing is that discovering these treasures doesn't require special access or privilege, it doesn't require wealth or connections, it just requires knowledge, attention, and the willingness to actually look, and that's what I hope you take away from this video, not just the specific information about these 5 valuable Jefferson nickels, though that's certainly important, but the broader lesson that treasure can be found by anyone, anywhere, at any time, if they just know what they're looking for and take the time to search. So here we are at the end of our journey through the most valuable Jefferson nickels ever discovered. We've explored the 2016 P worth $102 million, the 1997 P worth $105 million, the 2015 P worth $118 million, the 2013 D worth $109 million, and finally, the ultimate prize, the 1993 D. Jefferson nickel worth an absolutely staggering $120 million. Each of these coins has its own unique story, its own specific errors and characteristics, and its own place in numismatic history, and together they prove that modern coins, coins from our lifetimes, coins we've used and seen and held, can be worth fortunes that most people can barely comprehend. So the next time you get a nickel and change, don't just toss it in a jar or spend it without thinking. Take a moment, really look at it, check the date, check the mint mark, examine the surfaces, look for doubling, look for off-center strikes, look for anything unusual, because that ordinary-looking nickel in your hand could be your ticket to extraordinary wealth. It could be the coin that changes everything, and wouldn't it be amazing to be the person who discovers the next $120 million Jefferson nickel, the next legendary era that becomes the stuff of numismatic dreams? That person could be you, it really could. You just have to look, so get out there, start searching, and who knows, maybe the next incredible coin find will be yours. Thank you so much for watching The Coin Merchant. If you found this video valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel for more content about rare and valuable coins, and drop a comment below telling me if you're going to start searching through your nickels after watching this. I read every comment and I love hearing from you, and remember, fortune favors the observant, so keep your eyes open and happy hunting.